Uh, Hey everyone, just like wait for a few more minutes before we get started. Till then, is there anyone here who hasn't attended the workshop that we had in the campus, but has joined like the online workshop right now? Like anyone who's not sure? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So I'll just go give a quick overview of what you need to do before we move on to the rest of the part that we had to continue off from the workshop. All right. So just follow along and you'll be fine. Okay, I think we can get started, right? So for those of you who are not present in the offline workshop, I'm Kunal, currently the co-domain head at Think Digital for the web development domain. I'm in my third year EC department. You can any web dev related doubts, you can call me. I'm a big fan of web dev. You can check out my GitHub and LinkedIn, and you can find tons of web dev content that I share that may be helpful to you and your journey in learning web development. So for today's workshop, we'll be continuing where we left off in the offline workshop, right? So we had covered the HTML part of this clone right here, and we were going to start the CSS and JavaScript part also. So if you remember what happens with the JavaScript part, you add a email and anything, it gets appended to the table here in the bottom, right? So for those who missed the workshop previously, uh, I'll be running you quickly how you can catch up. right? So hope you have the prerequisites opened right now, and is that in the WhatsApp group description? So you have to download these images in a separate folder. I'll just create a LinkedIn folder and I'll download them all here. After downloading, just take out the images and place them in a separate assets folder. Okay. And for editing your files, I'm using VS Code as my text editor. As I mentioned last time, you're free to use whichever one you're comfortable with. So after you open VS Code, just go to File, Open Folder, and you can select which folder you want to work with. So I made a LinkedIn folder, right? So I'm just going to open that. And over here, I'm going to create an index.html. And for the contents of this file, I I shared this just in the group, right? So this over here. Oh my God, I'm totally sorry for that. I was live streaming this to YouTube also, so I thought that would here also I shared. Yeah. To quickly run over, I created a LinkedIn folder. I created an assets folder where all these images are there. These images are coming from this document over here. You can find the link to this document in the WhatsApp group, or you can just have it right here as well. Okay. After downloading these images, place them in an assets folder inside your main project folder. Then open the folder in your VS Code or any other text editor that you're using right now and create an index.html. Okay. Right. So after that, I told for the contents of this file, which we actually covered up in the last workshop, you can use this gist. I shared the gist link in the WhatsApp group as well a while back. I'll share it over here as well. Yeah. So just copy all these and put them inside your index.html. Okay. Yeah. So if you all have the Jamboard open with you today, we broke down our website into small structures, right? Uh, so we had the main box. Inside the main box, we had our nav bar, and then we had our main content with the form and a few other text elements, and then we had the footer itself. Yeah. So in HTML, we split it to different, right? So this is our navbar content over here. Let me just zoom in. Yeah. So our navbar in HTML looks something like this. It had only one image, right? Something like this. Uh, and then our main content over here, the form and the text. So I placed it inside the main element with a H1 text, the actual form, and a few buttons and some other text with links in the bottom, paragraphs basically. After that, we created a footer. This footer right here, right? So it had a list of links you could say. So that list of links, I made a footer. Inside the footer, there's a UL and there's a bunch of LI. UL basically means unordered list. LI is basically your list items. So all of my links and images, they come as a list item. And these country boxes over here, right? not countries, the languages. So these languages over here, we use the select tag with bunch of options so that the user can select any one language from them over here. So one additional thing that we are going to do, other than what the actual page content, is this table, right? So this table is something we are adding on our own. So before the footer, you can add this one over here, table, and inside table, each table is represented by rows and columns, right? What HTML does is you have to specify certain rows, and inside the rows, you have a bunch of columns over here. So if you go to our clone, you can see there's two right now. If I just reload, there's going to be just one uh, row and two columns. So first one is the serial number, and second one is the email that we type it out, and it comes in the bottom, right? So similarly, in your HTML, you first specify a row, and inside the row you can specify a bunch of columns using the TD or TH. In this case, I'm using a TH. So TR basically means table row. TH basically means table heading. So table heading basically is nothing but a column. Each TH that element over here is a column, and I'm using heading because it's going to be the first entry in our table, right? If not, I can always go over here, another row, and specify the TD. So I can just put one, and in here I can just put uh, yeah, and I'll just go live so that we can see these changes in real time. If you remember the live server extension, yeah. So can you see? Since it's not styled right now, it's looking like this. Otherwise, you can see like each TD and TH, they are their own columns in this case. And we have two rows over here. Okay. Yeah, so let's continue. Today, what we are going to do is we're going to add the CSS part to it to make it look from this very big, boring page to something presentable, something like this one over here. So to start off with, come to your text editor and create a styles.css file. Now, as Varun mentioned in the offline workshop, there's three ways you can add styling to your website. Either you can come directly to the element, type out the style attribute, and add like a color green over here, and it will get added to your website. So this is called uh, inline styling. So if you see the output, you can see it has taken the green color right now. The second way you can add styling is by specifying the style tag itself. So you come back to your head part, open up a style tag, and you can target anything over here. So for example, I'm going to target the nav bar element, right? Uh, I can just type in the nav, and over here I can put background color, lime green, yeah. Uh, and you can see it would have taken the lime color over here. Okay. So this is your way of doing attaching internal style to your website. So you attach it directly in your document. I'll get to the syntax in a while. We had explored this in the uh, theory part also, but I'll explain it even more detail now. And the next way you can add CSS is by using an external style sheet. So for example, I'm going to target the nav element again, and I'm put a background color of lime over here. So if I save this, go to my website, you can see it's not being added here, right? Even though it's here right now, it's not in the actual web page right here. So this is happening because this style sheet over here needs to be linked to my index.html, and you can link it using the link tag. Just type link, and over here you have to give the location of the style sheet. So I'm just going to put dot/styles, and it's a self-closing tag. So dot, as we explored, means relatively. We go from this folder and find the styles.css. So if I save this, yep. Uh, yeah, 1 second. Yep. Just why is not loading? Yep. Okay. So this one main thing I forgot to mention is you got to specify this rel. Rel equals style sheet. So you're especially telling what type of file you're attaching to your document. So in this case, I'm attaching the styles.css, uh, which is a style sheet type of document to my HTML file. So what happens is when you open this HTML file in your browser, the browser looks at this line by line, right? So when it hits this line, it's seeing like there is a file linked, what type of file it is, and where is the file coming from. So, and then it goes into your style.css, reads these styles, and then applies them to all of your HTML elements, right? So let's focus on our uh, CSS part right now. So the general syntax for writing CSS is basically you need a selector. Yep. You will use a selector. You'll have a, and then you have a property value association with the selector. So property as in it has a key value. So suppose say there is a something you want to change, that is the color of the text. You just put color green like this. Suppose say you want to change the background, which we just did, right? So background white, all this you can do using this syntax. So selector basically means you want to select a type of element in your web page, and then you attach some properties to that selector. So these CSS properties will get applied to the element that you're selecting in your file. Nothing more than this. This is basically what we're going to learn over here. So I'll keep this here. And first thing we want to do is reduce the size of those images in our file, right? So to start off with, I'm just going to put some basic styling, something called asterisk, and then you open that same object type of notation here, or curly braces. That's what you want to call it. And you just put margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing border box. Okay. So margin, padding, all this we saw in our box model, which Varun explained in the workshop. So if you want to look at it again, we can have a quick overview. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a div over here, right? Uh, I'm just going to do an internal styling over here. So how would I target my div, right? So in this case, it's the same. So I'm going to use the selector. In this case, I'm going to use the element name as the selector directly, div. And here I'm going to give it a width of 100 pixel, height of 100 pixel, and a background of lime over here as well. So you can see it's appearing over here right now with the same width and height. And this is not the only way to target it. I can even have another div with, say, for example, class. So class is an attribute that you can use to target elements over here. So I'm just going to put a box. Same way, I can use IDs as well. ID equals container. Yeah. So right now, all they will have these styles, right? But I can specifically say anything with the box class. So how do I target the element with a class of box? You just use the dot notation over here. And over here, I don't want it to have the background lime, right? So I just wanted to have a background of, say, blue, right? So I can change that over there. Similarly, if I want to target my elements using the uh, ID attribute, right? So I can just put a hashtag over here, and I can just put container, the name of the ID that I added, and a background of red. Okay, so you can see it's all being changed over here. So you might ask, like, why do I need to use IDs or classes? Don't both do the same thing, only with a different syntax. The difference being that classes are reusable. You can assign one class to multiple elements, whereas IDs are unique. You can assign only one ID to one element. So that being because you can keep unique stylings to one particular ID, whereas with classes, you can repeat the stylings over and over by applying the class. We'll take a look at it over here also. All right. So after this, hopefully you get like the selector syntax over here right now. And why we are using the box sizing border box, right? So it's useful because whenever you attach a height and width, and also like the border style property. So you can attach a border also, right? 2 pixel solid black. Yeah. So you can see a border is being attached. But what I can do is I can make the border even thicker for the other box. But you can see like yeah, you can see how the border of this is going more than the border of size of that, right? I want to keep my size uh, constant, like it should be uniform throughout my website, but it's not happening over here because the width, the height, the border, all of them have their own dimensions. They're all independent of each other. Uh, and it looks something like this. It looks a bit odd, right? So to fix that, you have the box sizing border box. You can apply to all the elements using the asterisk or the star selector. So I'm just going to put box sizing, border box. And now you see, so with this, without this, it's coming like this. And with the box sizing border box property, it's all collapsing into the same width. So regardless of what the border is, what the content inside my boxes or the actual width and height, everything must fit within the width of the box. So that's why I'm using the box sizing border box to remove this non-uniformity that's coming in my elements. No, nothing more than this. Okay, guys, if you're having any doubts, just feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I won't be able to take a look at the chat box, so just unmute yourself and shoot your question. Okay. Yeah. So back to our code. So this part is done, right? Next, I want to add some styling to my body itself. So I'll just go to select the body selector. So I'm selecting the element directly in this case. I'm giving the full width of 100%, minimum height of 100 VH. So when it comes to giving width of the border, the margin padding, anything of that sorts, use units in this case. So units you have in pixels, you have in percentages, you have in VHVW, which basically means viewport width and viewport height. While percentages and pixels are pretty straightforward, uh, these units like VH and VW, they are called relative units. We have relative and absolute units. So yeah. So uh, for example, PX, right? I showed you 100 PX of width and 100 PX of height. So these types of units, they are not responsive to the viewer's phone. If you see the element in your phone, in your laptop, in your desktop, it all remains the same. The width will remain 100%, depending on the aspect ratio of the device itself. But then when it comes to units like percentages and VH, you're telling it to take its width relative to something else in this case. So 100% basically means uh, take 100% width relative to its whole container above it. So in this case, my body above container is the whole HTML element itself, and height min height 100%, 100 VH basically means it should have a minimum height, meaning from top to bottom. It should have a minimum height of 100 VH, regardless of the content in it. It should have the viewport height of 100 VH, meaning its height should go from the width of the device, the height of the device from top to bottom, from this point over here to the bottom here. Okay. Yeah. Right now it's not being, you can't see it because these images are quite large. We'll get to that in just a minute, right? So the next thing I want to do is, uh, yeah, come back to the Jamboard. So all these are in a stack layout, one after the other. You can see they are at most of them are in the center, right? And we can achieve this by default. They are stacked on top of another. You can see everything comes on top of another, but they're not in the center. So if I want them to be in the center, I'd have to either put margin on both sides to bring it to the center, or there's another simple property called flex, which we also covered that day. So let me give an example. So body, I'm going to put display flex. So it all comes in a row. So flex gives you a row layout by default, but I can change its behavior to be column layout as well. Over here. So you can see it became a column. I can give my body width of 100%. And then I told I want to bring these elements in the center, right? So to bring it center, I'll just uh, use align uh, items center. So it comes in the center. And justify content, usually you won't require this in a column layout, but yeah, this should be enough. So you can see with display flex, making it a column and putting align item center, it brought all my elements to the center of the page. If I want, I can even add a gap of 12 pixels to each. You see, pretty easy. So same thing I'm going to do for my this page also. So display flex, align items center. Before that, flex direction column. Okay. And yeah, so this should do it. Now, if you come to the actual LinkedIn page, yeah, you can see it's having a different type of font. Even the background color is different in this case. So uh, you can extract these background colors in Firefox actually quite easily. You have this draw pick over here, so you can just hover over, click on it, and it will copy paste the hex code for the background over here. And this font over here, if we can have used something called Open Sans. You can get that from font.google.com. So usually in your web development journey, you won't be using the default that the browser offers, right? So it looks a very different font from the actual website. So you'll have to use sources like font.google.com, or you have to manually uh, download the fonts and import them in your style sheet. For now, we are just going to use a link to link a particular font name Open Sans to our website. Yep. So you can just search for Open Sans, select Open Sans over here.